Hello and welcome. Angela Meiritz-Reid here, Stampin Up Demonstrator based in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm making this card, which is my card for the Global Design Project this week. It's a colour challenge and we've got Tahitian Tide, Flirty Flamingo and Pool Party. All the products I've used to create this card are available at my online store and they'll be listed at the end of the video. I've also created a PDF tutorial which is available via my blog, and that link will be in the description box too. This background die is called the Dots and Spots die, and it's one of the new celebration offerings, as well as the offerings that are in the little brochure. These have also just come out too, so if you live in New Zealand and you don't have a demonstrator and would like to receive these free with orders over $110 or $120, then please contact me. I'd love to be able to help you. So we'll get started. I've got a basic white card base. I'm using the thick one, the thick cardstock. That's really good and sturdy. So we've got that, and then the next layer is just the basic white, the normal weight, so it's a bit lighter, and that I'm going to do the blended background. Let's bring in some scrap. So what I've done, it's a little bit bigger than that size because I'm going to die cut it and also trim it down a little bit. It just, if you die cut first, then when you blend, it will create dark areas around all the little dots, and I didn't want to have that look, so I'm going to blend first and then die cut. So when I'm blending, this image is going to be over that part of the card, so that's where I tend to start because that part there is always a bit darker, and it's a good place to start and then just work out and blend in your colouring out, so that then what happens, it's not, you just can get that blend nicely going without worrying about where you've started from. So I just want to do sort of all in this sort of area, and this takes a little bit of time. Don't be in too much of a hurry to get that colour added, and also it does seep into the paper as you go along, so it does sort of change a little bit as time goes on. So I just want to get sort of quite a big circle going. And I just find circular movements work quite well. And the reason I pop it into here is just so I don't get a lot of darkness straight onto the card. It's just a matter of being a little bit patient. The reason I trim it down is because it can get sort of dark edges if you get close to there too, so I just want to avoid that. So I think that looks about right. Just blend it out a little bit, get all that starkness. That it is quite patchy in there, but as I said, that's where the main flower is going to go, so it should be okay. Right, so once you're happy with what you've done there, I'm going to die cut it. So I have to bring in my big die cutting machine to get that through. And you can run it through straight, but what I've done with this is I've got it on a bit of an angle just to add a bit of interest. Run that through. and the dots that come out of it go everywhere. So I'm just right, and then so that is trimmed down, so I'll give you the measurements. It's trimmed down to 9.5 by 13.9. So 9.5 by 13.9. So I'll bring my trimmer in, and I'll just take, so that is at 10, so I've got a centimetre in total, so I'm going to take about half off each side just so I don't get any of that colour on the edges. So 9.5, and the same with this, it should be about a centimetre too long, so I'll just take half a centimetre off. Actually, I don't need to, oh yes I will do, I was just thinking about it, if I do a little bit off each, it's nice and even. Then what I want to do is adhere that to the card front, and I've done that with dimensionals, so that does take a little bit painstaking, because just need some little mini ones. You're going to need quite a few. So you just want to place them like you would on any piece that you're going to pop on, just to have them evenly spread out so it doesn't sink. When you think that looks like it should be okay, take all those backs off. Hopefully I've got those. If you put it on an angle, you can see whether they're off or not, and then I just want to pop that on so it's nice and even on all the edges. Looks about right. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create this image here. So just bring in some scrap paper, and because this stamp is a photopolymer, I've got my bit of foam board, and I've got a piece of shimmery white cardstock. I've got crumb cake because I'm going to stamp that with that, and I've got my colours that I'm going to colour in. Actually, I've got a little bit ahead of myself. What I've got to do is I've got a little strip of the shimmery white, and I've got these little, this die here, that's going to create those little flowers there. I just want to colour that now so that that will have a little bit of time to dry. So I can set that aside. Just add a bit of water to that. Pick up some of this colour. Just randomly sort of add some colour. I don't want it to be even, I sort of want it to be different strengths. Should be okay. I'll just pop that aside to dry, and we'll die cut those later. Right, now back to this. So I've got, what I want to do is stamp that off because I don't want a really dark background, so it looks a bit you know, that no line colouring. So I'm just going to stamp that, ink that up, that underneath there, stamp it off, and then just pop that on there. Give a nice good firm press of that, and got a lovely, oopsie, I've got a bit of colour there from that, never mind. Right, so I'm going to start with a pull party. It's going to be green anyway, so hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of ink off here, and I'm just going to run that down the stem. So you do want something very fine for that, one of these fine water painters. Just take that in there. And then for the leaves, so this it will run if you watercolor with it too quickly or you add too much water, but it shouldn't matter too much because it is sort of that no line, so it will disappear a bit anyway. So I'm just going to add a little bit lighter to start with, and then just build up a bit of colour into the middle. And then get rid of a bit of that colour off there, and then just blend that out. And I might just add a little bit more just to make the vein of that leaf a little bit darker. And I'll do the same thing here. Just about going back and adding little bits of colour, sort of building up that colour. And if you stick to the lines that are already on there, it does make it a little bit easier. Saves reinventing the wheel. Go on and blend that a little bit. Just depends how vibrant you want it to be, what look you're going for. Sort of want something reasonably subtle. Want to try and get a little bit darker in the middle. Just build up that colour a little bit more. This is really soaking in. Yeah, quite happy with that. I think that looks got a little bit of variation in that leaf. If you want to dry things a little bit quicker, just use your heat tool, and that always adds a little bit of interest too, because it dries it a lot quicker, so there's less of it merging together. Right, so I'll just clean that off, and then we'll go in with to do the flowers. So they are little flowers, so it is a little bit slow, but it's okay. There is a stamp in the stamp set that is an infill, but I really like just doing that individual look. So what I've done is add a little bit of water to that colour, and just gone in and coloured them each like this, just to get that background. I did try it going over the whole thing, and it just sort of merged everything together. It give as pretty a result, I didn't think. So just a little bit of patience, that's all. And also, if you do go over the whole thing, you end up then sort of merging the crumb cake into it, and I like that it sort of gives that outline a little bit. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't matter if it goes over the line a little bit, or it's got a little bit of hair on the end. Just really to get that colour down and those little petals. I won't speed it up, so you can do it with me if you're at this stage, or you can speed me up if you want to get past. Just get sort of similar colour over the whole thing. But it doesn't matter at all. I'm not worrying about where the light is on this, it's just about colouring all the little petals and getting some variation on each of them. Right, so once that's done, then I'm just going to go in and get a little bit darker colour and then just pop that closer to the middle. And because that potentially the colour that's already down there is still a little bit wet, hopefully it will just do its own thing and merge a little bit. So this is sort of a rusticy looking look, just a really not too particular, just organic sort of look. And you can of course do these as dark or as light as you like. It's whatever suits your colouring style or card style. So you do need the finest of these water painters to do that. And then sometimes I've just gone and grabbed a little edge and just on any of the lines just added a bit of colour, a bit of darker colour. Just really random, just sort of get an overview of colour. When you're happy with that, I might just try and go get just a tiny little bit more of the pool party in the middle, those leaves. Just get a bit more. It has blended quite a lot. It's hard to know when to stop sometimes, it just, less is more. Right, so that is that done. And then next I'm going to die cut that. So bring in my die cutting machine, which is covered in dots, so I can scrape those all off. Just make sure you do get things like this off, because they will cause lumps and bumps on what you're die cutting next. So pop that on, and then I just want to pop that over the top, get that in the right place. No, see, it's not going to stay. So just get a bit of washi tape. I've got this beautiful washi tape. Seems a shame to use it for this, but it works really well. So I just get a couple of little pieces. That's all it needs. Just a couple of little pieces to hold it in place. Run that through. And then while we're here, I'll just pop this bit that I've coloured with the Tahitian Tide and pop, these are the little flowers. So it's going to give quite a few for another project. Oh yeah, of course you can add more. I just added 3, but sorry, that's shaking everything. Cute little flowers, and now it's just mostly about putting this together. Get rid of all those dots and spots. So this is going to be added to the card front with that one in here with dimensionals. So just get some normal size dimensionals on here. Half one in the middle, and then I normally don't worry too much, but I do feel that it just needs one on that stem just to hold it in place. So what I did is I just cut a little bit off the end of that and just popped it so you can't see it. Just take all those backs off. And that's going to go about there. I've made this quite a lot brighter than the other one, but that's okay. Just shows you, doesn't it, how easily it is to make it quite different. And then these little flowers, so I quite like the ones that have a little bit of different variation in the colour. And those, I just pop those in the holes. Actually, I'll pop those on once the sentiment's on, because then I have a good idea of where to put everything. So just need to tie a bow. Now, if you don't like tying bows, if it's not your thing, I've got a little tip on how to get a bow, especially when it's going to be like this one under the sentiment. So just pop glue dot down, and you might need more than one glue dot, but we'll start with one. And then just bring your tail down here. You can manipulate where you want that to go depending on where you pop it on the glue dot. And then bring that down, do your loop, and then stick it back onto the glue dot. Then we're going to do another loop, and you will need another glue dot. So I'm just going to pull that off with the tweezers and pop it sort of over the top. Bring that loop back round, and I'm just going to thread that under there. So once you're happy with how long it is and your loops, you can just adjust it if you want to make them a bit longer. Just lift it back up and down off that glue dot, and then I'll just trim that there. Sometimes they just don't do what you want, but you can pop them under something until they're just to hold it in place. Right, so now I'm just going to do the sentiment. So I've got Happy Birthday, and that is from the Happiness Bound stamp set. I love that, the sentiments in there. And then I'm going to bring in my foam board again, And just need to use the embossing buddy, my Versamark. So just stamp that on. And I've got gold emboss powder. Make sure there's none sitting around. And then I've got these fabulous tweezers out of the embossing kit. So because you squeeze them together, so I don't need to even worry about trying to make sure of keeping them squeezed together. So great. Right, so I'll heat this. And then I just want to trim that down a little bit because I don't want it taking up, covering all my flour. Making sure it's straight is often difficult. If you've got something to line it up with, that's always helpful. Right, so that I'm just going to sit up over there. So I'm going to put one dimensional there, just, well, half one, and then here it's going to be, it's actually 2 dimensionals high because that's got 2 layers. So I'm just going to put one on top of the other, just so it's going to be the same height. And I've done this in the shimmery white as well, so it coordinates with the shimmery white that you can see on the back of the flower. And then it's just a matter of popping these little flowers in. So what I did is I popped them in the little holes, which I used some little dimensionals. And even then I think they didn't, I might have just cut them in half because they're quite small little holes. There's one here. Just going to poke that into there. Pop that on top. And one here. Sometimes you are, if you are popping them in the holes, you're constrained by where the holes are, but that's okay. And then popped another one at the top here. Anywhere really, just whatever suits, but I quite like them going in triangular formation. And then lastly, they have a little pearl on them. Just bring in my pearls, get rid of all my rubbish. So I just use the tiny little seed pearls. I love these wee pearls. And just popped one in the centre of each of those. And that is it. So it didn't take too long. And as I said, if you didn't like watercolouring, you could use just the infill stamps that are in the set. And another idea too for getting this to stay where you want is just popping a tiny little bit of glue down onto where you want it, and then just put that over there, and then just pop, say, a little block or a big block, and just to keep it in place until it sets, and then it will eventually adhere to where you want it. So that's another little trick. So thanks very much for watching. I'll need to leave it a bit longer. Just leave that there. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this card, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye.